and over?
My uncle made his choice. He won't be threatening anyone again.
We're already married, you disaster.
I know, but I want to do it right.
She played that night like she'd never played before. Every note was a prayer of gratitude.
That's my mom.
She'd been a cellist with 48 hours to find $40,000 before her mother's last treatment window closed. He'd been a businessman with dangerous connections who needed one night of believability for a deal worth millions. The transaction was simple. She'd play the perfect companion, he'd pay her in cash, and they'd part as strangers at dawn. Cold, clinical, forgettable. But 3 years later, in a Seoul hospital corridor, their carefully buried past collided with an impossible present. Nicole Wade was drowning raising triplets alone in a tiny apartment, selling everything she owned, surviving on 2 hours of sleep and pure desperation. Kwon Yoon-seok was untouchable, a man whose accident had left him unable to father children, or so every doctor had sworn. Yet there they stood, him in his black suit flanked by guards, her in discount store clothes with 3 toddlers who had his razor-sharp features, his intense eyes, his stubborn chin. 3 children who shouldn't exist. 3 living, breathing pieces of evidence that their one-night transaction had created something that looked dangerously close to destiny. And in Yoon-seok's world where his uncle was circling like a vulture, where heirs meant power and power meant survival, these children weren't just a surprise. They were a weapon, a target, a complication that could save his empire or destroy them all. The transaction was supposed to end at dawn. But some debts compound interest in heartbeats and tiny hands. And neither of them was prepared for what happens when a cold business deal grows a conscience whether they wanted it or not. Nicole Wade had exactly 48 hours to find $40,000. Her mother's doctor in Atlanta had called 3 times in one day, which was never a good sign. The experimental treatment had one window, one chance, and the insurance company had already sent their final denial letter. She sat in her tiny apartment in Itaewon, staring at her cello like it might suddenly turn into cash. 5 years in Seoul, a position with one of Asia's most prestigious orchestras, and she still couldn't save her own mother. The irony tasted bitter. Her phone buzzed. A message from Hana, a fellow musician who sometimes took side jobs when orchestra pay wasn't enough. Still desperate, "I have something. Pays 20 million won up front. One night, no weird stuff, I promise." Nicole's fingers hovered over the screen. 20 million won was about $16,000. Not enough, but it was a start. What kind of job? Cultural companion for a business dinner. Rich guy needs a date who can sit through fancy French food and not embarrass him. You're perfect, elegant, educated, speaks Korean. He requested someone who plays classical music. That's it? Just dinner? That's what the agency says. Look, I've done it before. These businessmen just need arm candy for their meetings. You smile, nod, and leave. Easy money. Nothing about this felt easy, but Nicole thought about her mother's last voicemail. "Baby, don't worry about me. You're living your dream in Korea." Except her dream was turning into a nightmare, and her mother was dying. "Send me the details." 2 days later, Nicole stood outside a restaurant in Gangnam that didn't have prices on the menu, which meant normal people couldn't afford to ask. She wore the one designer dress she owned, a black number she'd bought for orchestra galas. Her hair was pulled into a low bun. Simple gold earrings. She looked like she belonged here, even though her stomach was doing flips. A man in a dark suit met her at the entrance. He didn't smile. "Miss Wade?" "Yes. Follow me." He led her through the restaurant to a private room in the back. That's when she saw him. Kwon Yoon-seok sat at the head of a table set for 6, and the first thing Nicole noticed was how still he was. Most people fidgeted, checked their phones, did something. He just sat there like a statue, watching her walk in with eyes that gave away nothing. He was younger than she expected, maybe mid-30s, with sharp features and hair pushed back from his face. He wore all black, no tie, no smile. "Miss Wade," he said in perfect English. "Thank you for coming." "Of course," Nicole managed, trying to remember how to breathe normally. He stood and pulled out the chair next to him, not across from him, next to him. Close enough that she could smell his cologne, something expensive and woody that probably had a French name she couldn't pronounce. "The others will arrive shortly," he said. "Japanese clients, they're traditional, They expect to see stability and family values. You understand? You need me to pretend we're together. I need you to be exactly what you are. Intelligent, accomplished, beautiful. Let them make their own assumptions. The way he said beautiful made it sound like a business observation, not a compliment. Nicole wasn't sure if that made it better or worse. The dinner started fine. The Japanese clients arrived, an older man with his much younger girlfriend. They spoke in a mixture of Japanese, Korean, and English. Nicole stayed quiet, mostly smiling when appropriate, laughing softly at jokes she didn't fully understand. She noticed Yoon-seok never drank the wine, just moved it around his glass. He was performing too. Then the girlfriend got sick, really sick. Something she ate, or maybe something she drank too much of. She barely made it to the bathroom. The older Japanese man, who Nicole learned was named Takahashi, looked embarrassed and angry at the same time. We should continue this meeting, she'll be fine. But his girlfriend wasn't fine. She came back pale and shaking, and even Takahashi's cold businessman face cracked a little. Yoon-seok didn't miss a beat. My apartment is 10 minutes away. Your lady can rest there while we finish our discussion. More private than a restaurant anyway. Nicole's internal alarm system started screaming, but what could she say? She was being paid to be here, to play whatever role this night required. If you're already hooked by Nicole's impossible situation, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button. Trust me, you won't want to miss what happens next, because this night is about to change everything. Yoon-seok's apartment wasn't an apartment. It was the entire top floor of a building in Hanam-dong, the kind of place keyballs and celebrities lived. The sick girlfriend was taken to a guest room by a housekeeper who appeared out of nowhere. Takahashi settled into the living room with Yoon-seok, and Nicole suddenly realized she was expected to play hostess in a stranger's home. She found the kitchen, more through luck than skill, and started making tea. Her hands shook slightly as she arranged cups on a tray. This was so far outside her comfort zone she couldn't even see the zone anymore. When she brought the tea out, Takahashi was talking numbers. Big numbers. Container shipments, port schedules, customs documentation. Nicole wasn't stupid. This wasn't a normal business deal. Everything about Yoon-seok screamed danger, and Takahashi had the eyes of someone who'd seen bodies. She poured tea with steady hands and tried not to think about what she'd walked into. The meeting stretched past midnight. The girlfriend woke up feeling better and rejoined them, apologizing in rapid Japanese. Takahashi seemed satisfied with whatever deal they'd struck. He shook Yoon-seok's hand, then surprised Nicole by bowing to her slightly. You have good taste, Kwon SSI, beautiful and graceful. Yoon-seok's face didn't change. I'm very fortunate. After they left, the apartment fell into heavy silence. Nicole grabbed her purse, ready to run for the door. She'd done her job. She wanted her money and her mother and to forget this entire night. Wait, Yoon-seok said. She froze. He poured himself a real drink now, whiskey from a crystal decanter. Takahashi expects certain things. Consistency. He'll ask about you next time we meet. So hire me again, Nicole said, trying to keep her voice steady. He expects more than business dinners. Yoon-seok took a slow sip. He thinks you're my woman. If he finds out you're not, that I hired you, he'll see it as deception. He'll walk away from a deal worth $30 million. Nicole's brain was working too fast and too slow at the same time. That's not my problem. I'll give you the $40,000 you need for your mother, right now, plus the original $20 from the agency. Her heart stopped. How do you know about my mother? The agency vets everyone. I know you're a cellist. I know you're on a work visa. I know your mother has stage 4 cancer and 48 hours to start treatment or the window closes. He set down his glass. I know you're desperate. Anger flooded through her. So what? You want to buy me for the night? Make your lie look real? I want what I paid for. Believability. You stay until morning. Takahashi's driver is watching the building. He needs to see you leave tomorrow, not tonight. Nothing else? That depends on whether you can live with a comfortable lie or if you need the complicated truth. Nicole's mind raced. $40,000. Her mother's life. One night in a stranger's apartment. She could lock herself in a guest room, leave at dawn, never see this man again. But the way Yoon-seok was looking at her made her think he was offering something more than just sleeping in separate rooms. What's the complicated truth? She heard herself ask. Akahashi won't just ask about you, he'll ask for details, personal details, the kind men share when they trust each other. Yoon-seok's voice was flat, clinical. I need those details to be real. The room spun. You want me to sleep with you for money. I want a transaction. You need money for your mother. I need authenticity for my business. We both get what we need. Tomorrow, we're strangers again. Nicole should have walked out, should have thrown the tea tray at his head, should have done anything except stand there calculating whether her mother's life was worth this. 60,000, she said, her voice coming from somewhere outside her body. And I want it transferred before anything happens. Yoon-seok pulled out his phone. Account number. She gave it to him with shaking hands. 30 seconds later, her phone buzzed. $60,000, just like that. More money than she'd ever seen in one place. Enough to save her mother. Enough to destroy something in herself. This is just a transaction, Yoon-seok said, standing up. Nothing more. Nothing more, Nicole repeated, and followed him down a hallway to a bedroom she'd spend the rest of her life trying to forget. The night was mechanical, clinical. Yoon-seok was efficient and distant, like he was checking items off a list. Nicole stared at the ceiling and thought about her mother's smile, about the cost of living, about how far she'd fallen from the girl who dreamed of playing Carnegie Hall. When it was over, Yoon-seok went to the bathroom. She heard the shower running. She lay there in expensive sheets in a stranger's bed and felt absolutely nothing. Numb was better than broken. He came back dressed in fresh clothes, his hair damp. There's a guest room down the hall. You can sleep there. The driver needs to see you leave at 8 a.m. That's it? That's it. He paused at the door. For what it's worth, I'm sorry about your mother. He said it like he was sorry about the bad weather. Impersonal. Distant. This was a transaction, Nicole said, using his words. You don't apologize for transactions. Something flickered in his eyes, but it was gone before she could read it. The guest room has toiletries. Help yourself to anything in the kitchen. Then he left, and Nicole was alone. She didn't sleep in the guest room. She didn't sleep at all. She sat by the window watching Seoul's lights blur through her tears and tried to convince herself she'd made the right choice. At 7:30 a.m., she cleaned herself up in the bathroom, fixed her hair, and put on yesterday's dress. A housekeeper she hadn't seen before was in the kitchen, setting out breakfast like this was completely normal. Like women in evening gowns regularly appeared in this apartment at dawn, Yoon-seok was already gone. There was an envelope on the counter with her name on it. Inside was a note in sharp handwriting. The transaction is complete. Thank you for your professionalism. Professionalism. That's what he was calling it. Nicole took the envelope and walked out of that apartment into the bright Seoul morning and promised herself she'd never see Kwon Yoon-seok again. Her mother died 3 weeks later. The treatment didn't work. The cancer was too aggressive, too far gone. Nicole flew home for the funeral, stood in a church in Atlanta, and accepted condolences from people who had no idea what she'd done to try to save her. Your mother was so proud of you, her aunt said. Living your dream in Korea. Nicole smiled and nodded and died a little more inside. She went back to Seoul because she didn't know where else to go. The orchestra welcomed her back. Her life continued. She tried to forget that night, tried to bury it under practice sessions and performances and the day-to-day work of existing. Then 3 months later, she missed her period. She told herself it was stress. Grief did strange things to bodies. She'd read that somewhere. But when the 2nd month passed, then the 3rd, she finally bought a pregnancy test from a convenience store at 2 a.m. when no one would see her. Positive. She took 4 more tests. All positive. Nicole sat on her bathroom floor and tried to figure out how to find a man she only knew by first name, whose last name she'd never learned, whose apartment she could probably never locate again. The agency had closed down. Hana had moved to Singapore. Every trail was cold. She was on her own. The pregnancy was complicated, high risk. At 6 months, during a regular checkup, the doctor's face went serious. Miss Wade, I'm seeing 3 heartbeats. 3? Triplets. And they're measuring small. We need to monitor you closely. Triplets. 3 babies. Nicole wanted to laugh or cry or scream, but she just nodded while the doctor talked about nutrition and bed rest and the NICU. At 7 months, her body gave up. Premature labor too fast to stop. She was rushed to Samsung Medical Center, and the next hours were a blur of pain and fear and doctors speaking rapid Korean she couldn't follow. When she woke up, a nurse was standing by her bed. Congratulations, you have 2 daughters and 1 son. They're small, but they're fighters. Nicole saw them through the NICU glass. Tiny, impossibly tiny, hooked up to tubes and monitors. 2 girls and a boy. They had dark hair and skin lighter than hers, but darker than most Korean babies. Their features were a blend she recognized from one night she'd tried to forget. She named them right there, still foggy from medication and trauma. Mina. Zara. The NICU bills crushed her. The orchestra's insurance helped, but not enough. She sold her expensive cello and bought a cheaper one. Sold her laptop, her jewelry, her furniture. Moved from Itaewon to Noan to an apartment the size of a closet that was all she could afford. The babies came home after 6 weeks. 3 cribs somehow fit in her bedroom. She learned to function on 2 hours of sleep. Learned to nurse 2 while 1 cried. Learned to choose between buying formula and buying food for herself. She stopped performing. Couldn't afford childcare, couldn't bring 3 infants to rehearsal. Started teaching cello to rich kids in Gangnam, traveling 2 hours by subway with sheet music in her bag and exhaustion in her bones. The Korean African Community Church helped when they could. Other single mothers showed her tricks, shared supplies, and babysat in emergencies. She survived day by day, month by month. 3 years passed like that. 3 years of pretending she was fine. 3 years of telling herself she'd made the right choice, keeping the children away from whatever dark world their father lived in. 3 years of nearly breaking but never quite shattering. Then everything changed on a Tuesday. Zara had an ear infection that wouldn't quit. The local clinic gave her antibiotics, but they weren't working. Nicole scraped together money for a specialist at Seoul National University Hospital, the kind of place she normally couldn't afford. She was in the pediatric ward waiting room, Zara fussy in her arms, Mina and G playing with worn-out toys on the floor when she felt it. Someone watching her. She looked up and her entire world stopped. Kwon Yoon-seok stood 15 feet away, flanked by 2 men in suits. He was older, sharper somehow, but unmistakably him. And he was staring at her children with an expression she couldn't read. Their eyes met. His face showed nothing, but she watched him calculate, watched his eyes move from the children to her and back again. Watched him count their ages in his head. Then he walked away, disappeared down a hallway, and Nicole's hands started shaking so hard she almost dropped Zara. "Mama?" Ye looked up at her with worried eyes. He was sensitive like that, always picking up on her moods. "It's okay, baby, Mama's okay." But she wasn't okay, because Kwon Yoon-seok had seen them, had seen children who looked nothing like pure Korean babies, who were exactly 3 years old, who had his eyes and his sharp little chin. She grabbed the kids and left before Zara's name was even called. Took the subway home with her heart pounding, kept looking over her shoulder like she was being followed. That night, after the children were asleep, she sat in the dark and tried to make a plan. Maybe he hadn't noticed. Maybe he'd seen mixed-race kids and a foreign woman and thought nothing of it. Maybe she was safe. Her doorbell rang at 9 p.m. Nicole crept to the door, looked through the peephole. One of the men in suits from the hospital stood there, holding an envelope. She didn't open the door. "What do you want?" "Message from Kwon Yoon-seok," the man said in Korean. "He requests a meeting." "Tell him no. Miss Wade, this isn't a request you want to refuse." "I have nothing to say to him." The man slid the envelope under her door. "Tomorrow, 2 p.m., the address is inside. Come alone." She waited until his footsteps faded before picking up the envelope. Inside was a card with an address in Hanam-dong and a single sentence. "We need to discuss the children." Nicole didn't sleep that night either. Nicole left the children with Mrs. Park from the church, a grandmother type who asked no questions when Nicole showed up looking like she hadn't slept. She took 2 buses to Hanam-dong because she couldn't afford a taxi and needed time to think anyway. The address led to a coffee shop, expensive and quiet, the kind where each cup cost as much as her daily food budget. Yoon-seok sat in a corner booth, same dark clothes, same unreadable face. No guards visible, but she knew they were somewhere. She slid into the seat across from him, kept her purse in her lap like a shield. "Miss Wade," he said, like they were old business associates. "Thank you for coming. You didn't give me much choice." "There's always a choice." He pushed a coffee toward her. "Americano, no sugar. That's still your preference?" The fact that he remembered something so small from 3 years ago made her skin crawl. "What do you want?" "The children I saw yesterday. 2 girls, 1 boy, approximately 3 years old. His voice was calm, factual. Are they mine? Nicole had practiced lying in the mirror that morning, had rehearsed denials and explanations and diversions. But sitting across from him, watching those sharp eyes that missed nothing, the lies died in her throat. No, she said anyway. You're not a good liar. I don't know what you're talking about. Yoon-seok leaned back, steadied her like she was a puzzle to solve. I've been impotent for almost 3 years. An accident, very specific injuries. My doctors assured me I'd never father children. He paused. Yet, I saw 3 children yesterday who have my mother's eyes and my bone structure. So heiter you were hiding the medical miracle of the century, where those children were conceived before my accident. Nicole's hands clenched around her purse. Lots of mixed kids in Seoul. Doesn't mean anything. The timeline matches perfectly. Our transaction was 3 years and 4 months ago. Those children appear to be about 3 years old, which suggests premature birth. He tilted his head slightly. Should I continue, or would you like to stop insulting both our intelligence? They're not yours, she said, but her voice shook. Then you won't mind a DNA test. Her stomach dropped. You can't just demand that. I can't force you legally, no, but I can make things difficult. Your visa status, your work permit, your housing situation. He said it without malice, just stating facts. Or you can agree to a simple test, and we can settle this today. And if I refuse, then I'll assume I'm right and proceed accordingly. Nicole wanted to flick the table, wanted to scream, wanted to grab her children and disappear, but she was so tired. Tired of running, tired of struggling, tired of being alone with this secret. They're mine, she said quietly. I've raised them for 3 years by myself. I've fed them and clothed them and sat up with them when they were sick. You were a transaction, remember? You don't get to show up now and claim them. Something crossed his face, quick as lightning. I'm not trying to take them. I'm trying to understand the situation. The situation is, I have 3 children, and you have a life that doesn't include us. Let's keep it that way. It's not that simple anymore. Why not? You got what you wanted 3 years ago. I got what I needed. Transaction complete. Yoon-seok was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke again, his voice was different, harder. Do you know what I am? What I do. I know enough to stay away. Then you know I have enemies. Serious enemies. If they find out I have 3 children, those children become targets. He leaned forward. They already saw you at the hospital. My uncle's men were there for the same publicity event. They saw what I saw. Nicole's blood went cold. Your uncle? He's been waiting for me to die without heirs so he can take over my position. 3 children appearing out of nowhere ruin his plans, which makes you and them very dangerous to him. Then we'll disappear. I'll take them somewhere safe. Where? You're on a work visa with no savings and 3 toddlers. You think you can hide from someone with connections in 15 countries? His jaw tightened. I spent 3 years believing I had no future, no legacy. Now I find out I have 3 children who've been living in poverty while their mother sold everything she owned to keep them alive. You think I'm going to just let that continue? I didn't tell you because I didn't want them in your world. They're already in my world. The moment my uncle's men saw them, the clock started ticking. Nicole's mind raced. What are you saying? I'm saying we need to establish paternity legally and quickly. I'm saying those children need protection you can't provide alone. I'm saying everything is about to get very complicated. I don't want your money. This isn't about money. This is about survival. A waiter approached to refill water, and Yoon-seok went silent, transformed back into the polite customer. The second the waiter left, Nicole stood up. I need to think. You have 24 hours. After that, my uncle will make his move, and will be playing defense instead of offense. Yoon-seok slid a card across the table. My private number. When you're ready to be realistic about this, call me. Nicole took the card, hated herself for taking it, and left before he could see her cry. She made it 2 blocks before her phone rang. Unknown number. Hello. Miss Wade, my name is Kwon Jinsang. I believe we should talk about those beautiful children of yours. Her blood turned to ice. Who is this? I'm Yoon-seok's uncle. I happened to see you at the hospital yesterday. Such lovely babies. It would be terrible if something happened to them. Nicole stopped walking. People flowed around her on the sidewalk. Are you threatening my children? I'm offering you a choice. Very generous, really. 100 million 1-in-3 tickets to America. You leave tonight, raise your children somewhere safe, never contact my nephew again. His voice was smooth, almost kind. Or you stay, and I make sure those children never see their 4th birthday. Accidents happen so easily with little ones. Her hands shook so hard she almost dropped the phone. You're insane. I'm practical. Yoon-seok cannot have heirs. That was decided 3 years ago. These children are a complication I'm willing to erase. He paused. You seem like a smart woman. A good mother. Surely you want what's best for them. Don't you dare talk about what's best for my children. Then prove you know what's best. There's a package being delivered to your address right now. Cash and tickets. Be on the flight tonight or face the consequences. The line went dead. Nicole ran. She didn't know if she was running toward her children or away from the nightmare, but her legs moved, and she didn't stop until she burst into Mrs. Park's apartment. The children were fine, playing with blocks, completely oblivious. Mrs. Park looked up in alarm. Nicole, what's wrong? I need to take them home. Now. She gathered the kids, their shoes, and their jackets, and mumbled apologies to Mrs. Park. By the time she got to her apartment building, a man in a suit was walking away from her door. He nodded at her politely, like he'd just delivered pizza instead of blood money. Inside her apartment was a black bag. She made the children stay in the bedroom, told them to play quietly, and opened it with shaking hands. Stacks of money, 3 plane tickets to New York, and a note. Flight leaves at 11 p.m. Don't make me ask twice. Nicole looked at the money, enough to start over, to give her children a real life, safety, anonymity, everything she'd wanted for 3 years. All she had to do was run. She pulled out Yoon-seok's card, stared at the number, her enemy's enemy, her children's father, the man who'd called their night a transaction. She dialed. He answered on the first ring. Miss Wade, your uncle just threatened to kill my children. Silence. Then, where are you? Home. He sent money and tickets. Wants us gone tonight. Don't go anywhere. I'm sending security now. I don't want your security. I want my children safe. Then let me help you. Nicole laughed, bitter and broken. Help me? You couldn't even help yourself. You said you're impotent, that your uncle did this to you. What makes you think you can protect us when you couldn't protect yourself? His voice went cold. Because now I have something worth protecting. My uncle made a mistake. He assumed I had nothing to fight for. He was right, until yesterday. So what, we're just leverage to you? A way to keep your power? You're the mother of my children. That makes you family. And I protect family. With what? Empty threats? Your uncle sounds pretty confident. My uncle thinks I'm weak because I have no heirs. But if I acknowledge those children publicly, if I claim them legally, then killing them becomes an act of war against the family bloodline. Even my uncle won't risk that level of chaos. He paused. But I need proof first. I need that DNA test. And then what? You take them? Turn them into little criminals? Then I make sure they live long enough to make their own choices. Mina started crying in the bedroom. Nicole closed her eyes. I can't do this. You don't have to do it alone anymore. I've been alone for 3 years. I'm good at it. And how's that working out? Nicole wanted to hate him for the question, but he was right. She was drowning. Had been drowning since the day the pregnancy test came back positive. The DNA test, she said slowly. If I agree, what happens after? We establish paternity. I set up protection. We figure out the rest as we go. That's not a plan. It's the only plan that keeps your children alive past tonight. Ye appeared in the doorway, dragging his blanket. Mama, I'm hungry. She looked at her son, at his father's sharp chin and serious eyes, and made the choice. Fine, but I want it in writing. You don't take them from me, you don't make decisions without me, and if this goes bad, you get us out of the country safely. Agreed. I'll send a lawyer with the papers and a medical team for the test. 2 hours. Yoon-seok, she said before he could hang up. If you're lying to me, if this is some game, I will find a way to destroy you. If I'm lying, I'll deserve it. The line went dead, and Nicole sat on her floor surrounded by blood money and airplane tickets, wondering if she'd just saved her children or sold them to a different kind of devil. Hey, if your heart is racing right now, leave a comment and tell me what you think Nicole should do. Should she trust Yoon-seok or take the money and run? Let me know below. The medical team arrived first, professional and efficient. They swabbed the children's cheeks while Mina cried, and Ye asked 1,000 questions, and Zara tried to eat the cotton swab. Nicole held them and signed forms and tried not to throw up. The lawyer came next, a sharp woman named Kim who spoke perfect English and didn't blink at Nicole's tiny apartment or mixed children. Mr. Kwon has outlined the terms. Paternity established, children protected under family assets. You retain full custody and decision-making power. He requests visitation rights to be determined after the situation stabilizes. What situation? The succession issue. Mr. Kwon's uncle is contesting his right to lead the family business. The children are evidence that Mr. Kwon produced heirs before his accident, which invalidates the uncle's claim. Nicole's head spun. So my children are just evidence in a business dispute? Your children are heirs to one of the most powerful families in Seoul. That comes with complications. Kim's face softened slightly, but Mr. Kwon was very clear. Your well-being and the children's safety are the priority. Everything else is secondary. And if the uncle comes after us anyway, then Mr. Kwon will handle it, permanently if necessary. The casual way she said permanently made Nicole's skin crawl. This was the world her children's father lived in, threats and violence and people who disappeared. She signed the papers because what choice did she have? Security arrived after the lawyer left. 2 men who positioned themselves outside her building. Nicole watched from her window as they settled in, and the reality hit her. Her life as she knew it was over. The DNA results came back in 18 hours. Kim called personally. 99.9% match. All 3 children are definitely Mr. Kwon's. Nicole had known, but hearing it confirmed still felt like a punch to the chest. What now? Now Mr. Kwon would like to meet the children properly, and we need to discuss living arrangements. I'm not moving in with him. He anticipated that. He's prepared to purchase an apartment for you in a secure building. Hanam-dong, 3 bedrooms, 24-hour security. I can't afford Hanam-dong. Mr. Kwon will cover all expenses. Rent, utilities, food, childcare, and medical. Consider it child support. 3 years of struggling, and suddenly someone was offering to fix everything with money. It felt wrong. It felt like giving up. It felt like relief so intense she wanted to cry. I want to keep teaching, she said. I'm not going to be some kept woman. Of course. Mr. Kwon respects your independence. Does he? He's trying, Miss Wade. This is new for him, too. The meeting with the children happened at a park, a neutral ground. Nicole brought them early and let them burn off energy on the playground. When Yoon-seok arrived, he stood at a distance, just watching. Ye noticed him first. Mama, who's that man? Someone I need to talk to. Stay where I can see you, okay? She walked over to Yoon-seok and left space between them. Up close in daylight, she could see the resemblance more clearly. Ye had his intense stare. Mina had his elegant hands. Zara had his stubborn mouth. Thank you for coming, he said. You're paying for it, apparently. The apartment is for the children, not you. Everything I have is for the children. That's how being a parent works. He flinched slightly. I'm aware I've missed 3 years. I can't fix that. No, you can't. But I'd like to try to be part of the next 3 years. And the 3 after that. Nicole watched Mina go down the slide, fearless and laughing. They don't need a father who treats them like business assets. They need a father who keeps them alive. I can do that. Can you? Your uncle already threatened them once. My uncle won't be a problem much longer. The way he said it made her look at him sharply. What are you planning? Nothing you need to worry about. They're my children. Everything about this is something I need to worry about. Yoon-seok was quiet for a moment, watching the kids. I had a sister. She died when I was 12. My uncle's enemies took her to get to my father. She was 7 years old. Nicole's anger cracked slightly. I'm sorry. I'm not telling you for sympathy. I'm telling you so you understand why I will do whatever it takes to make sure history doesn't repeat itself. He turned to her. I know you don't trust me. I know I don't deserve trust. But I'm asking you to let me try. Before she could answer, Ji ran over, stopped short when he saw Yoon-seok up close. You're really tall, Ji said. Yoon-seok looked down at him and something in his face changed, softened. You're really observant. Mama says I notice everything. Are you Korean? Yes. I'm half Korean, and half like Mama. Yi tilted his head. You look like me, in the face. Nicole's throat closed up. Yoon-seok crouched down to Yi's level, moved slowly and carefully like approaching a wild animal. I do look like you, he said quietly. That's because I'm your father. Yi's eyes went huge. He looked at Nicole. Really? She wanted to lie, wanted to protect him from this complicated, terrible truth, but she just nodded. Where were you? Ye asked, turning back to Yoon-seok. Mama said our father was far away. I was, but I'm here now. If that's okay with you. Ye considered this seriously. Can you push me on the swings? I can try. Nicole watched her son take his father's hand and lead him to the swings, chattering about how high he could go and how Mina was scared, but Zara was fearless. Watched Yoon-seok push him carefully, awkwardly, like he'd never pushed a child on a swing before, which he probably hadn't. Mina and Zara noticed and came running over. Who's that? That's your father, Nicole said, and watched her entire world shift on its axis. The girls were more cautious than Yi. They hung back, studied Yoon-seok with serious faces. He didn't push, didn't try to force affection, just answered their questions when they asked. Do you like cello music? Mina asked. I don't know much about it. Mama plays cello. She's really good. I know. I heard her once. Zara tugged on his sleeve. Are you rich? Sora at school says only rich people wear all black. Nicole almost died, but Yoon-seok's mouth twitched, almost a smile. I have enough money. Can you buy us ice cream? Zara, Nicole warned, but Yoon-seok said yes. If your mother says it's okay. 3 pairs of eyes turned to her, pleading. What was she supposed to say? No, you can't have ice cream with your father because he's a criminal, and this is all a disaster? Fine, but small cups. They ended up at an ice cream shop near the park, the children sticky and happy, Yoon-seok looking completely out of place surrounded by pastel colors and cartoon characters. The security guards stayed outside, trying to look casual and failing. They're beautiful, Yoon-seok said quietly while the kids argued over flavors. You did well with them. I did what I had to do. Still, raising triplets alone in a foreign country with no support. Most people would have crumbled. I almost did. About 100 times. But you didn't. Nicole looked at him, this man who was a stranger and the father of her children and a criminal and possibly the only thing standing between them and death. I didn't have a choice, she said. Love doesn't give you a choice. Something in his expression shifted. Before he could respond, Mina brought him a tiny spoon of her strawberry ice cream. Try it, she demanded. He took the spoon, tasted it solemnly. Very good. I know I have good taste. Mina beamed at him and went back to her sisters. They're gonna wrap you around their fingers, Nicole said. They already have. The words hung between them, surprisingly honest. Nicole looked away first. That night, after the children were asleep in their new apartment that was bigger than anywhere Nicole had ever lived, she stood in the kitchen that had actual counter space and tried to process everything. Her phone buzzed. A message from Yoon-seok. Thank you for today. Sleep well. She typed and deleted 5 responses before settling on you two. 3 days later, the scandal broke. Someone leaked photos to the media. Nicole leaving Yoon-seok's building 3 years ago in an evening dress. Recent photos of her with the children. Side-by-side comparisons of Yi's face and Yoon-seok's face that were undeniable. The headlines were vicious. Foreign escort traps billionaire with secret children. Kwon Yoon-seok's hidden family scandal. 3-year deception. The children no one knew about. Nicole's phone exploded with calls from numbers she didn't recognize. Reporters camped outside the new apartment. The security guards earned their pay by keeping them back. Her students' parents canceled lessons. The orchestra's director called with regret in his voice. The board thinks it's best if you take a leave of absence. Just until things settle down. Everything she'd built in Seoul crumbled in 48 hours. Yoon-seok showed up on the second day of the media circus, walked right through the cameras like they didn't exist. Pack a bag, he said. You and the children are staying at my place until this dies down. I'm not running. You're not running, you're regrouping. He looked at her, really looked at her. Have you slept? Have you seen what they're saying about me? I'm a gold digger, a liar, a foreigner who trapped you. They'll say worse before this is over. How are you so calm? Because I expected this. My uncle is behind the leak. He's trying to delegitimize the children, make them look like a scheme instead of heirs. Yoon-seok's jaw tightened. It won't work. How do you know? Because I'm not going to let it. The next day, Yoon Seok called a press conference. Nicole watched it on TV, the children playing nearby and oblivious to the fact that their existence was national news. Yoon Seok stood in front of a wall of cameras and reporters, his face carved from stone. "I'm here to address the recent speculation about my personal life. 3 years ago, I had a brief relationship with Nicole Wade. She became pregnant. Due to circumstances neither of us anticipated, I was unaware of the children until recently." He paused. "DNA testing has confirmed that the children are mine. I take full responsibility for them and their mother." A reporter shouted, "Is it true she was an escort?" Miss Wade was a professional cellist who took a temporary job as a cultural companion for business dinners. "We met, we connected, and she became pregnant. The details of our relationship are private. Are you planning to marry her? That's between Miss Wade and me. Do you love her?" Yoon Seok's face didn't change. "I respect her. I'm grateful to her. And I will protect her and my children from anyone who threatens them. That's all you need to know." He walked away from the podium without taking more questions, and Nicole's phone rang immediately. "Did you watch?" Yoon Seok asked. "You didn't have to do that." "Yes, I did. They need to know the children are legitimate and you're under my protection." "I don't need your protection, Nicole." He said her name like he was tired. "Can you please, just this once, let someone help you?" She wanted to say no, wanted to prove she could handle this alone like she'd handled everything alone. But Mina was asking why people were taking pictures of them, and Ye had nightmares about strangers, and Zara wouldn't stop crying. "Okay," she whispered. "Okay." Moving into Yoon Seok's penthouse was supposed to be temporary. 3 days maximum, just until the reporters found someone else to harass. But 3 days turned into a week, then 2 weeks. And suddenly Nicole had a routine in a place that wasn't hers with a man she barely knew. The penthouse had enough space that they barely saw each other. Yoon Seok left early, came home late. When he was there, he was quiet, careful around the children like they might break. He brought them small gifts, books and toys that were too expensive and too perfectly chosen. Someone was helping him pick them out. "You don't have to buy their affection," Nicole said one night after he'd presented Mina with a child-sized cello. "I'm not trying to buy anything. I just want them to have what they need. They need consistency, not presents. Then tell me what to do and I'll do it." The honesty in his voice surprised her. "Have dinner with them. Read them bedtime stories. Be there." So he started coming home at 6 instead of midnight, started sitting at the table while the children ate and asked about their day. He was awkward at first, clearly uncomfortable with the chaos of 3 toddlers talking over each other, spilling things and demanding attention. But he tried. Nicole watched him learn Ye's favorite foods, learn that Mina needed extra time to warm up to things, and learn that Zara had a stubborn streak a mile wide. "She gets that from you," Nicole said one night after Zara refused to go to bed for the 3rd time. "I was thinking she gets it from her mother," Yoon Seok replied, and almost smiled. The almost smile kept happening more often, small cracks in his cold exterior. He laughed when Yu told terrible knock-knock jokes. He got down on the floor to play blocks with the girls. He asked Nicole questions about their baby days, the milestones he'd missed, and actually listened to the answers. "Ye walked first," she told him one evening while the kids watched cartoons. 10 months. The girls were so mad they figured it out 2 days later just to keep up. "Were you scared? Raising 3 babies alone?" "Terrified. Every single day." She watched Mina's head droop toward sleep, but also grateful. "They saved me after my mother died. Gave me a reason to keep going." Yoon Seok was quiet for a long moment. "I'm sorry I wasn't there." "You didn't know." "I should have known. Should have checked, should have given you a way to contact me." He ran a hand through his hair. "I told myself it was just a transaction, nothing that needed follow-up. I was wrong." Nicole looked at him, this man who was trying so hard to be something he'd never been before. "You're here now. That counts for something." Their eyes met and held. Something passed between them, warm and complicated. Nicole looked away first, her heart doing strange things in her chest. The domesticity was dangerous. She caught herself noticing small things. The way he rolled up his sleeves when he helped clean up after dinner. The careful way he brushed Zara's hair out of her face when she fell asleep on the couch. The sound of his voice reading bedtime stories in Korean, teaching the children words Nicole didn't know. One night she found him in Ye's room at 2 a.m. Ye had nightmares sometimes, leftover anxiety from the NICU days. Nicole always handled them, but tonight, Yoon-seok had gotten there first. He sat on the edge of the bed, one hand on Ye's back, speaking in low Korean. Nicole understood enough to catch the meaning. "You're safe. I'm here. Nothing will hurt you." Ye's breathing evened out. Yoon-seok stayed there another 5 minutes, just making sure. When he finally stood up and saw Nicole in the doorway, he looked almost embarrassed. "I heard him cry," he said quietly. "I didn't want to wake you." "Thank you." They stood in the hallway, close enough that she could smell his cologne, far enough that it was still appropriate. The apartment was dark except for a nightlight shaped like a moon. "I never thought I'd have this," Yoon-seok said. "Children, family dinners, nightmares to soothe. My life doesn't usually include normal things." "What does it usually include?" "Meetings, threats, money moving through accounts. Making sure people fear me enough to stay loyal." He looked at her. "Not bedtime stories." "Which do you prefer?" He didn't answer right away. When he did, his voice was rough. "The bedtime stories are terrifying, but I think I'd prefer them anyway." Nicole's chest tightened. This man, this criminal who'd called their night a transaction, was standing in her son's doorway admitting he was scared of fatherhood. It was the most human she'd ever seen him. "You're doing fine," she said softly. "Better than fine. I have a good teacher." The way he looked at her made her breath catch. She retreated to her room before she could do something stupid like touch him. But the moments kept adding up. His hand on her back when reporters ambushed them leaving a restaurant. The coffee that appeared every morning made exactly how she liked it. The time Mina threw up all over him and he didn't even flinch. Just cleaned her up and held her until she felt better. "You're getting attached," she told herself. "This is dangerous." Then Yoon-seok's lawyer Kim showed up with news that made everything more complicated. They met in Yoon-seok's office while the children napped. Kim spread papers across his desk with an expression Nicole couldn't read. "The family council is demanding a formal hearing," Kim said. "Your uncle is contesting the children's legitimacy and your right to lead." "On what grounds?" Yoon-seok's voice was ice. "He's claiming the children were conceived after your accident, which he says is medically impossible. He's demanding proof that they're actually yours and not part of an elaborate fraud. We have DNA evidence. He's claiming it was falsified. He wants an independent test supervised by his people." Nicole's stomach dropped. "Can he do that?" "Unfortunately, yes. The family charter gives the council broad investigative powers." Kim looked grim. "But that's not the worst part. He's also invoking the succession clause." Yoon-seok went very still. "Explain." "The charter states that the family head must produce a legitimate heir by age 40 or leadership transfers to the next male bloodline. You turn 40 in 6 months. The children are my heirs." "Yes, but they need to be legally recognized by the council, and your uncle is blocking that recognition. He's also spreading rumors that you're impotent and the children can't possibly be yours." Kim paused. "He's trying to run out the clock." Nicole looked between them. "What happens if he succeeds?" "He takes over everything. The business, the assets, the power." Yoon-seok's jaw clenched. "And he'll eliminate anyone who threatens his claim." "The children." "The children," Yoon-seok confirmed. "He can't leave loose ends." Kim cleared her throat. "There is one solution that would shut down all his arguments immediately." "What?" "Marriage. If you marry Miss Wade before the council hearing, it legitimizes the children under family law and makes them undeniable heirs. The council would have no grounds to contest." Nicole's heart hammered. "You want us to get married?" "I want you to survive," Kim said bluntly. "Your uncle has already made 3 attempts on the children's lives. The poisoning we caught, the car accident we prevented, the kidnapping attempt last week that you don't know about because security stopped it before it reached you." Nicole stood up so fast her chair fell over. "Someone tried to kidnap my children?" Yoon-seok's face was granite. "I was going to tell you." "When?" "After they succeeded." She was shaking with rage and fear. "You promised to protect them." "I am protecting them. That's why we're having this conversation." "By asking me to marry you for business reasons?" "By asking you to marry me so your children inherit everything and become too valuable to kill." He stood up and came around the desk. "My uncle made a mistake 3 years ago. He arranged an attack that was supposed to look random. Gang violence, wrong place, wrong time. I survived, but the injuries were specific." Nicole's breath caught. The impotency. He made sure I couldn't have children, made sure that when I turned 40 without heirs, leadership would pass to him. He's been planning this for 3 years. Yoon Seok's hands clenched. Then you appeared with 3 children who ruined everything. He'll kill them to protect his plan, unless we make them too important to touch. So I marry you, and they're safe. You marry me, and they're heirs to an empire. Killing them becomes an act of war that would destroy the family. Even my uncle won't risk that. Kim gathered her papers. I'll give you time to discuss, but decide quickly. The council meets in 2 weeks. After she left, Nicole paced the office. Yoon Seok watched her, patient and still. This is insane, she said. Yes. We barely know each other. Yes. The children need stability, not a fake marriage. It wouldn't be fake. Legally binding, all the protections and benefits that come with it. He paused. Separate bedrooms if you want. No expectations beyond what we already have. A business arrangement. A partnership. For the children. Nicole stopped pacing, looked at this man who'd become part of her daily life, who read bedtime stories and made coffee and was learning to braid hair for the girls, who was offering marriage not out of love but survival. I need time to think. You have 24 hours. After that, my uncle will make another move and we'll be out of options. She went to her room, sat on the bed, tried to breathe. Marriage to a man she didn't love, except that wasn't quite true anymore, was it? Somewhere between the dinner table conversations and the shared parenting and the way he looked at the children like they were miracles, something had shifted. She didn't love him, but she could see herself maybe loving him someday, which was almost worse. Her phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. Beautiful children. It would be tragic if something happened to them. Last warning. Leave Seoul or they die. A photo followed, Mina at the playground, Ye at his preschool, Zara in the building's lobby. Someone had been following them, photographing them, getting close enough to hurt them. Nicole ran to Yoon Seok's office and showed him the phone. His face went cold in an absolutely terrifying way. Pack a bag. You're not leaving my sight until this is over. He knows where we are all the time, because he has people on the inside, but I know who they are now. He made 3 phone calls in rapid Korean. By the time he hung up, his entire demeanor had changed. This wasn't the man who read bedtime stories. This was someone dangerous. It's handled. What did you do? What I should have done weeks ago. He looked at her. Marry me, Nicole. Not because it's smart or strategic. Marry me because I'm asking you to trust me with the most important people in your life, and I swear I won't let you down. Her eyes burned. That's the worst proposal I've ever heard. I know. I'm not good at this. He stepped closer. But I'm good at keeping promises. I promise your children will be safe. I promise you'll have everything you need. I promise I'll spend the rest of my life making up for the 3 years I missed. What if I want more than promises? Then tell me what you want, and I'll find a way to give it to you. Nicole looked at him, really looked at him, saw the fear under the cold exterior, saw a man who'd never had a family learning how to be a father, saw someone who'd called her a transaction learning to see her as a person. I want my children safe, she said. I want a real partnership, not a boss and employee situation. I want honesty, even when it's hard, and I want you to actually try at this, not just go through the motions. Done. Just like that? Just like that. She took a breath, thought about 3 beautiful children sleeping down the hall who deserved every chance at life, thought about a man who was rough around the edges but trying so hard to be better, thought about the fact that somewhere along the way, she'd started hoping he'd come home early instead of late. Okay, she said, I'll marry you. Something in his face transformed, relief maybe, or something deeper. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. You're about to find out how complicated I can be. I'm looking forward to it. The wedding happened fast. Too fast for a dress fitting or invitations or any of the things Nicole had imagined as a little girl. They went to a courthouse with Kim as a witness and signed papers that made them legally married in under an hour. The children thought it was a fun field trip. They had no idea their entire future had just changed. That night, Yoon Seok moved his things to the guest room without being asked, gave Nicole space. They ate dinner with the children like always, cleaned up together like always, did bath time and stories like always. But when the kids were asleep, and they stood in the hallway, there was a new weight to everything. So, Nicole said, we're married. We're married. This is weird. Very weird. He almost smiled. But we've done weirder things. That's setting a low bar. I'm good at low bars. Nicole laughed despite everything. We should probably tell the children eventually. Tomorrow, tonight, let them just be kids. He looked at her, something soft in his eyes. You're a good mother, Nicole. I hope you know that. I'm a terrified mother who's making everything up as I go. That's what all good mothers do, I think. She looked at her husband, this man who was learning to be kind, and felt something warm bloom in her chest. Not love yet, but maybe the beginning of it. The council hearing happened 2 weeks later in a private room that smelled like old money and older secrets. Nicole wasn't allowed in, but Yoon Seok had prepared her. They'll try to intimidate you before I get there. Don't let them. You're my wife now. That gives you power. She waited in an anteroom with Kim while voices rose and fell behind closed doors. After an hour, Kim got a text and smiled. It's over. The council recognized the children as legitimate heirs. Your uncle's claim is denied. Nicole's knees went weak. We won? You won. When Yoon Seok emerged, he looked tired but satisfied. He came straight to Nicole, took her hands. It's done. The children are safe. She burst into tears right there in the hallway. Relief and exhaustion and 3 years of fear all pouring out at once. Yoon Seok pulled her close, let her cry into his shoulder, and held her like she was something precious. Thank you, she sobbed. Thank you. You don't have to thank me for protecting my family. My family, the words settled into her heart and stayed there. But the victory was short-lived. That night, Nicole's phone rang. Unknown number again. Congratulations on your marriage, Jin Sang's smooth voice said. Very clever. But you've only delayed the inevitable. The council ruled against you. It's over. It's over when I say it's over. I gave you a chance to leave. You chose to stay. Now your children pay the price. He paused. I'm going to kill one of them. Maybe all 3. I haven't decided yet, but I want you to know it's coming. I want you to live in fear the way you've made me live with failure. The line went dead. Nicole ran to find Yoon Seok. He was in his office, already on the phone, his face carved from stone. I heard, he said when he saw her. He called me too. Wanted me to know he's coming for them. What do? We end this. He made another call. Gather everyone. Tonight. The warehouse on Pier 7. Nicole's blood ran cold. What are you planning? I'm planning to make sure my uncle never threatens my children again. By killing him? By giving him a choice. Exile or death. I'm hoping he chooses exile. Yoon Seok looked at her. Stay here with the children. Extra security is already on the way. I should be there. No. They're my children too. I have a right to be part of this. Nicole, where I'm going, what I'm about to do, you don't want to see it. I've seen plenty already. I'm not fragile. They stared at each other. Finally, Yoon Seok nodded. Fine. But you stay in the car with guards. Non-negotiable. She agreed because it was better than nothing. The warehouse was exactly what she expected. Dark, cold, full of men in suits who looked at her like she was an unexpected problem. Yoon Seok left her in an SUV with 2 guards, went inside alone. 10 minutes later, another car arrived. Jin Sung stepped out, flanked by his own men. He saw Nicole through the window and smiled. A cold, cruel smile. Then he pulled out a gun and fired. The window cracked but didn't break. Bulletproof glass. The guards yanked Nicole down as more shots rang out. She heard shouting, heard Yoon Seok's voice cutting through the chaos. Then silence. Yoon Seok appeared at her door, yanked it open, pulled her out and into his arms. Are you hurt? No, the glass held. What happened? My uncle made his choice. His face was grim. He won't be threatening anyone again. Nicole didn't ask for details, didn't want to know. She just held on to her husband and tried not to shake. That night, after they got home and checked on the sleeping children 3 times, they sat in the living room with glasses of whiskey neither of them drank. Is it really over? Nicole asked. It's really over. The council witnessed his attack on you. They've already approved his permanent removal from the family. Removal. He's alive if that's what you're asking. Barely. But he'll never set foot in Korea again. Nicole should have felt relief. Instead, she just felt tired. This is your life. Violence and threats and people trying to kill each other. It was my life. I'm trying to make it something different now. Can you? Really change? Yoon Seok set down his glass. I don't know, but I want to try. For them. For you. For me? You made me want things I never wanted before, normal things. Family dinners and bedtime stories and someone to come home to. He looked at her. I know this marriage started as a strategy, but somewhere along the way, it became real for me. You became real for me. Nicole's heart hammered. Yoon-seok, I'm not asking you to love me. I know I don't deserve that. But I'm asking for a chance to earn it. However long that takes. She thought about the past months, the way he'd learned to braid hair and make silly voices during story time, the way he asked about her day and actually listened, the way he looked at their children like they'd hung the moon, the way he'd put his body between her and danger without hesitation. You're already earning it, she said softly. You have been for a while now. His eyes widened. Nicole, I'm not in love with you yet, but I think I'm getting there, and that terrifies me. Why? Because loving you means accepting all of this. The danger, the darkness, the parts of your life I don't understand. She met his eyes. But I think I'm willing to try anyway. Yoon-seok crossed the space between them, took her face in his hands. I will spend every day trying to be worthy of that. You're already worthy. You just don't see it yet. He kissed her then, soft and careful, asking permission with every movement. Nicole kissed him back and felt something shift. This wasn't a transaction anymore. This was real. When they pulled apart, both breathing hard, Yoon-seok rested at his forehead against hers. I'm going to mess this up sometimes, he said. I don't know how to be a husband or a father. I'm learning as I go. So am I. We'll figure it out together. Together, he repeated, like testing the word. I like that. Over the next few months, they built something real. Yoon-seok cut back on the dangerous parts of his business, delegated more, and came home earlier. Nicole started performing again, small concerts that Yoon-seok attended with the children, clapping louder than anyone. The kids adapted fast, started calling Yoon-seok Appa without being prompted. He cried the first time you said it, actual tears he didn't try to hide. You're getting soft, Nicole teased. I know, it's your fault. I'll take credit for that. They had their first real fight 3 months in. Something stupid about discipline styles. Nicole wanted gentle parenting, but Yoon-seok thought structure was more important. They argued until Mina started crying, and they both felt terrible. We're both right, Nicole said after they calmed down. We need balance. How do we find balance? By talking instead of assuming, by remembering we're on the same team. Yoon-seok pulled her close. I'm sorry I raised my voice. I'm sorry I implied you didn't know what you were doing. I don't know what I'm doing most of the time. Neither do I, but we're doing it together. He kissed the top of her head. Together. Before we get to the ending, I need to know something. Are you Team Nicole and Yoon-seok? Do you believe he's really changed? Drop a comment and let me know, and make sure you're subscribed because you won't believe how this story ends. 6 months into the marriage, Nicole woke up and realized she was in love with her husband. Completely terrifyingly in love. It hit her during breakfast while she watched him help Zara cut her pancakes and listened to Yi's rambling story about a dream he had. Yoon-seok looked up, caught her staring. What? Nothing, just watching. Watching me lose a debate with a 3-year-old about whether dinosaurs are better than dragons? Dragons are better, Appa, Zara said seriously. They have fire. Dinosaurs are real, though, Yoon-seok countered. So are dragons. In my heart, he did not argue about that. Nicole laughed and fell a little more in love. That night, after the children were asleep, she found Yoon-seok in his office. He was working less these days, but old habits died hard. Hey, she said from the doorway. He looked up and smiled. A real smile that still surprised her every time. Hey, yourself. Kids down? Finally, Mina wanted 17 more stories. She's a negotiator. She gets it from her father. Nicole came in and sat on the edge of his desk. Can I tell you something? Always. I love you. The words hung in the air. Yoon-seok went very still. You don't have to say it back, Nicole rushed on. I just wanted you to know, I've been holding it in for weeks, and it felt like lying not to tell you. Nicole. His voice was rough. He stood up and came to stand in front of her. I've loved you since you cried on my shoulder after the council hearing and trusted me to keep you safe. I just didn't think I was allowed to say it. Why not? Because this marriage started as a transaction. Because I called our first night a transaction. Because I've been trying so hard not to pressure you into feeling something you don't feel. Nicole cupped his face in her hands. I feel it. I feel everything. He kissed her like she was air and he'd been drowning. She kissed him back and thought about how far they'd come. From strangers to parents to partners to this. Whatever this was. It felt like destiny. I love you, he said between kisses. I love you, I love you, I love you. Prove it, she teased. How? Take me on a real date, not a business dinner or a kid event, just us. Done. Tomorrow night. I'll arrange childcare. Look at you planning dates. I'm full of surprises. The date was perfect. Dinner at a quiet restaurant, a walk along the river, conversation that flowed easily and naturally. Yoon-seok held her hand like he was afraid she'd disappear. Nicole leaned into him and felt completely safe for the first time in years. Thank you, she said as they walked. For what? For trying, for changing, for loving our children so much, you learned to be better. Thank you for giving me the chance, for seeing past what I was to what I could be. He stopped, turned to face her. I know we're already married, but I want to do this right. He pulled out a small box. Inside was a ring, simple and elegant and perfect. Nicole Wade, will you marry me again? Not for strategy or survival, but because I love you and I want to spend the rest of my life making you happy? She was crying and laughing at the same time. We're already married, you disaster. I know, but I want to marry you like I should have the first time, with our children there and vows that mean something and a celebration that's about love, not fear. Yes, she said. Yes, 1,000 times yes. He slid the ring onto her finger, kissed her under the Seoul streetlights, and Nicole thought about how her life had become something she never expected. Better than she'd dreamed. Built from broken pieces into something whole. They had a second wedding 2 months later. Small, just close friends and the kids. Mina and Zara were flower girls. Yi was the ring bearer and took his job very seriously. Nicole wore a dress she actually got to choose. Yoon-seok wore a suit and cried during his vows. I was wrong, he said, his voice thick with emotion. That night 3 years ago wasn't a transaction. It was fate bringing me the family I didn't know I needed. Bringing me you, the woman who taught me how to love. I promised to spend every day earning the gift you've given me. Nicole's vows were simpler. You called it a transaction, I called it survival, but we were both wrong. It was always destiny, and I wouldn't change a single moment because every moment led us here. They kissed as husband and wife for the second time, and this time it meant everything. The children cheered. Their small group of friends applauded, and Nicole felt something she hadn't felt in years. Complete happiness. Later, at the reception, Yu tugged on Yoon-seok's sleeve. Appa! Are you and Mama married now? We were already married, buddy. But now you're married? Yes, married. Good. Does this mean we're a real family? Yoon-seok picked him up, held him close. We were always a real family. From the moment I met you at that playground. Mina and Zara wanted to be picked up too. Yoon-seok somehow managed all 3 of them, strong enough to hold his entire world in his arms. Nicole watched her husband with their children and felt her heart might burst. You're staring again, Yoon-seok said. I like what I'm looking at. Come here. She joined them and he pulled her into the group hug. 4 people wrapped around them, love multiplied by 5. This is everything, Nicole whispered. This is just the beginning, Yoon-seok replied. And he was right. They had hard days ahead, moments where his past tried to catch up with them, times when parenting triplets felt impossible. But they faced it together. Built a life that was messy and complicated and absolutely perfect. 5 years later, Nicole stood backstage at a concert hall, about to perform her first solo show since the children were born. Yoon-seok sat in the front row with 3 8-year-olds who were supposed to be quiet but probably wouldn't be. She walked onto that stage and saw her family, her husband who'd learned to love, her children who'd given her purpose, her life which had started with a transaction and become a love story. She played that night like she'd never played before. Every note was a prayer of gratitude. Every measure was a celebration of second chances. When she finished, the audience stood and applauded, but she only cared about 4 people in the front row. Yoon-seok was crying again, not even trying to hide it. The children were bouncing with pride. Later, at home, she tucked the kids into bed while Yoon-seok cleaned up. They'd moved to a house with a yard. something more suited to children who were growing fast. Zara wanted a dog. Mina wanted piano lessons. Yu wanted to learn taekwondo like his father. Did you have fun tonight? Nicole asked, kissing foreheads. You were amazing, Mama, Mina said. The best, Ye agreed. I'm gonna play cello too when I'm big, Zara announced. You can be anything you want to be. Can I be a dragon? Nicole laughed. Maybe start with cello and work your way up to dragon. After they were asleep, she found Yoon-seok in their bedroom. Their actual shared bedroom now. It had taken a year of marriage before she'd felt ready, but when they'd finally moved in together completely, it had felt right. You were incredible tonight, he said, pulling her close. I had good motivation. The kids are so proud of you. I'm so proud of you. I'm proud of us. Look what we built. From a transaction to this, who would have thought? Nicole kissed him, soft and sweet. I would have, eventually. Liar. Fine, I'm a liar. But I'm your liar. Mine, he agreed and kissed her again. They'd come so far from that first night. From strangers to parents to partners to lovers. From survival to happiness. From transaction to destiny. Nicole fell asleep in her husband's arms, 3 children safe down the hall, and thought about how sometimes the hardest choices led to the most beautiful destinations. She'd needed money and found love. He'd needed legitimacy and found family. Together they'd built something neither of them expected, and it all started with 3 little words he'd said 3 years ago. This is a transaction. He'd been wrong. It was always meant to be forever. If this story touched your heart, do me one last favor. Hit subscribe, leave a comment telling me your favorite moment, and share this with someone who needs to hear that even the hardest beginnings can have the most beautiful endings. Because Nicole and Yoon-seok's story proves that sometimes destiny disguises itself as desperation, and the best love stories are the ones we never saw coming. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.